If you're someone who is struggling with the level of debt that you carry, you may have heard of something called nonprofit credit counseling. And if you haven't, listen up because it can be a really big help for people who've got debt. Today, we're going to talk about what credit counseling actually looks like. So, more than just a phrase, but what happens in the first meeting? What do you talk about? How does it work? Our guest is Doris Asiedu. She is a credit counselor at Credit Canada, and she's going to give us the lay of the land on the who, what, when, wheres, and whys. Hello, Doris.
Hi, Bruce.
So historically, credit counseling was something, and you've been with Credit Canada for a long time. It was something that, you had an appointment and you showed up in an office. Since the pandemic, you can just pick up the phone and have a session immediately, and you can do it over the phone. The client just dials the number. So let's
Mhm.
start from the beginning. The phone rings, you answer it. What happens?
All right. So the phone rings, I answer, and I basically just try to find out why the client is calling, how I may help them. Um, it's really understanding the client's situation, where they're at, so I can meet them where they are. Or sometimes we have to meet halfway. So it depends on what's happening. Yeah.
I know you, so I know how committed you are to your clients. I know how gracious you are, how kind you are, how you validate people's experiences and really take care of them. But for those people who don't know you, talk a bit about that, what you're trying to create in that experience, such that they really feel like they can, get beyond the shame they may feel or disclose things that they haven't told anybody else. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so it's about building rapport in the beginning, making the clients feel comfortable, making them feel they're not judged. We're here to provide a service. Um, Dealing with finances can be obviously very personal, and most people don't like talking about it, let alone with a stranger that they just met over the phone.
Mm.
So it's really just having that open communication, making them feel that we're here to listen. There's no judgments. We're here to provide them with a solution so that they will feel a whole lot better than when they first called. And it takes a little bit of time, but by, I'll say, 10 minutes into the conversation, I can tell clients are feeling more relaxed. They're
Mm.
open and they're willing to share what it is that is bothering them, what made them make the call. So when I can understand them better, then I can also provide them with the best solution.
Mm. If we were to put it in a medical context, if you went to a doctor, they would take your vitals. They'd listen, blood pressure and heart rate, and they'd check your joints and all those sorts of things. You ask
Yes.
some very specific questions to help illuminate the reality of their financial circumstances. Tell us
Right.
what those questions are and what you're trying to get in terms of a picture of what they're dealing with.
Yes, so we're coming in from a very holistic standpoint. We want to look at everything that what is happening with their finances. So I'm asking questions like their income, their expenses, if they have assets, and just analyzing all that data to get a better grasp of their situation and then providing them with the right solution. Or also checking in what have they done already before they called us. Have they tried finding solutions, but it didn't work out? That way I know what they've done and I can better support them.
Mm. This is not someone that, or not something that just anyone can start doing with no training. You've been doing this for a long period of time. What are the
Right.
things that have been a part of your training that enable you to do this job effectively? You're accredited, there's like courses and stuff.
hmm Yeah, so really staying current in what's happening, as in, credit scores, understanding credit reports. Sometimes people get those two confused. They don't understand what the numbers mean. They don't understand, the letters and the numbers. So breaking it down and using the language that the clients can understand, not really getting caught up on, the industry big words that can confuse some individuals. So breaking it in a sense where it makes sense to the average consumer. Once they understand it better, then they're able to make better decisions. And also being yourself, being personable, making
Mm.
the clients feel at ease. so that they can trust you, that you're there to partner with them. You're not there to tell them what to do, but we're working as a team. And I think in the end that it's a win-win for both
Mm.
parties involved.
As a nonprofit credit counselor, and obviously you and I are not objective in this, we work for Credit Canada, but as a nonprofit, one of the things I often tell people is we've got visibility, we've got insight into all the different solutions out there. If
Mm.
you're trying to, get support from a collection agency, it's a very different thing. If you're talking
That's
to a
right.
licensed insolvency trustee, it's a different thing. But
Yeah,
as a nonprofit credit counselor, you can point them in many directions. What are
right.
some examples of things that you've assessed their income, their expenses, you've got a sense for their assets, all those things, the debt
Mhm.
they're carrying. What are some potential solutions you could talk to them about?
Yeah, so credit counseling is not a one fits all solution. We're seeing clients from different walks of life. People have different needs. Some people have just budgeting. They want to learn how to better budget. So we have tools, tips, and strategies that we can offer them. Others are finding themselves in debt, so they need a solution, a way out. It could be maybe refinancing. It could be consumer proposals,
Mhm.
bankruptcy, those are insolvency type of solutions, or credit counseling. We have a debt consolidation program that can also help these individuals get out of debt. So it really depends again where the clients are at. Once we see where they are, we can help them get to where they
Mm.
want to go.
When people hear the word counseling, they might think like marriage counseling or career counseling. And
Mm,
often those are things that you develop a relationship and you might see that individual for months or even years, depending on what they're dealing with.
mm.
With credit counseling, the connection between client and counselor can be quicker. You might be able to offer them a solution that gets them on a better track in a call or two. Is that accurate?
Very accurate. If the clients are ready and they are willing to take the necessary steps, we can get things done in one call, an hour. Or if
Wow.
necessary, we might need to book follow-up appointments. So again, based on the individual, sometimes people are quite driven. They know exactly what they're looking for. Some people will call and say, I just want to be, do the debt consolidation program. So if
Right.
they're telling you that it's pretty clear, they are very focused, and
Mm.
in that direction, you can also help guide them to get there. So again, it all depends on where they are, what they're looking for. Have they done any research?
Right.
If they know what they're looking for, it makes the process much quicker. But
Mm.
not to say if they don't know, we're not here to help them. Every client is different. So my role is to work with the individual where they are, and again, getting them to that final destination, which in most cases is to get out of debt.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked a lot about what nonprofit credit counseling is.
Yeah.
What would you say nonprofit credit counseling is not? Some the misconceptions that people might have about the work that you do.
Yeah. So we're not judgmental. We're very warm and
Yes.
welcoming. So people can feel free to call us. A lot of people tell me after the session, they're like, oh, wow, are we done? I was expecting a longer session, or maybe I was scared. I didn't know what to expect, but they are really pleasantly surprised in the end that we are here again to help. And so we are dedicated and committed to spending the necessary time that is needed to help them get to that solution they're looking for.
You have made a life choice to be in a helping profession. I assume you like the job that you do. You get something out of the job that you do. So if that
Yes.
assumption is accurate, what would you say, and not a specific example, but a sense for the satisfaction you derive from a
Mhm.
client after you have made that contribution to them? What do they say? What do you feel?
Yeah. It's very humbling, especially when sometimes clients go out of their way to even give us Google reviews. There was one not very long ago that I think moved our whole agency. Everybody was just so surprised, not too surprised, but the degree that the client went in to write his feelings about the session is just priceless.
Mm,
These things you can buy with money. So
mm,
at the end of the day, if this is how the client is feeling, it makes me feel that mission accomplished. Everything that they needed to say, they've put it beautifully in that letter. And it's not just for me to see, but also for outsiders who might
yeah.
be a little bit not sure as to who we are, our legitimacy, because there's a lot of noise, I call it, in the
Mm,
background, and there
mm,
is bad apples out there. So
yeah.
these type of testimonials from clients just warms my heart. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it makes me feel that I'm making an impact in people's life, and it shows. Yes.
And you are,
Thank
Doris.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Yes. You're welcome.
Doris Asiedu is a credit counselor at Credit Canada. It is Canada's first, longest standing nonprofit credit counseling agency. And I wanted to have this conversation because I wanted listeners to get a sense for and a feel for what would happen if they picked up the phone. And worst case, you pick up
Mhm.
the phone, you have a 2-minute conversation, you feel like it's not for you, you just hang up and move on. It's very, very simple.
Exactly.